Hi. Good afternoon. My name is Greg Piechota. I spent 20 years as a journalist and an editor in Poland, and recently I moved to United States a few years back, and I started to work at Harvard Business School, and currently I live in Oxford in England, working for the University of Oxford. What I'm doing is I'm studying digital disruption. This is basically the way startups enter markets and steal customers from incumbents. And I also studied the rise of platforms, and I've published several books in the past 2 years about distributed content strategies, platform strategies, making money with Facebook, and so on. The question we are going to focus today is, who is the most powerful editor in the world? When we look at the media landscape, the biggest social and media platforms worldwide, what we see is that we have Facebook with almost 2 billion users right now, YouTube with 1.5 billion, and many other platforms like Messenger, WhatsApp, two Chinese platforms, WeChat and QQ, Instagram, Tumblr, LinkedIn, and Twitter. In fact, these are the 10 biggest media platforms. 4 of them are owned by the same company, Facebook. At the same time, the founder of the company believes that he is not really a media company, he is a technology company, because he claims we are not building, we are not creating content, we are building the tools. That's why it is not a media company. But of course, we can claim, so what's really Facebook doing? What is the business model? It's aggregating audience. So it's aggregating the attention of 2 billion people and then selling this attention to the advertisers. And last year they had almost $30 billion in revenue from advertising. So their business model is like any other media company in the world. What people are using Facebook for? Obviously the main reason is to connect with friends and family, but 50% of the internet users worldwide go to Facebook for news. What usually media companies are doing, they are having editors who make decisions about what is newsworthy. Facebook is also doing that. For example, last year there was a big controversy when a Norwegian newspaper published this picture from Vietnam War on their Facebook page. A Facebook censor basically deleted the post. And then the Prime Minister of Norway made a protest and published the same picture on her profile, and Facebook also deleted the post, and basically there was a huge controversy. All over the world newspapers started to write about it, and Facebook decided, okay, so from now on we will be deciding that even if sometimes a picture is breaking our community rules, and we have a community rule that we don't allow children pornography, and in their opinion there is a children pornography on this picture, we will have people making decision that maybe the picture is newsworthy. So basically, they started to admit that they make editorial decisions about newsworthiness. And then editors, what do? They commission content. They don't, many media companies don't really create content on their own. They commission content from somewhere else. They acquire content, syndicated content. In this case, Facebook started to pay some publishers all over the world to create live videos. So they basically assign somebody to do a sort of a media content and pay for it. So they also work as editors. Of course, their editorial offices are not, they don't look like many other news organizations. This is the headquarters in California. It looks more like a city where all these engineers work. But there is a group of engineers that design algorithms that are running Facebook. And these algorithms are basically making automated decisions about content. And they also hire people like these. These are people working in Berlin office of Facebook. These are moderators. So these are people who make these decisions whether a picture is newsworthy or whether something shouldn't be published because for some other reasons, because some rights are or laws are broken. So basically, these are the people that make editorial decisions. Of course, an old saying is, when I see a bird that walks like a duck and swims like a duck and quacks like a duck, I call the bird the duck. And we could claim that maybe the Facebook, instead of what they are saying about themselves, really behave like a media company. Why is it important? Because if it is the most important editor in the world, it's crucial that we know how this editor works, especially as it is automated editor. And there is a problem then, because Facebook's decisions are made by the algorithms, and we don't know much about the algorithms of Facebook. We know what's coming into Facebook, so we know that different people and brands and publications are publishing something, publishing some posts, some links, some videos. But then the algorithm is doing something. It's a black box. This is how we call it. And then there is an output in the form of a news feed that is individualized for every user. We don't really know what's going inside, and why is that? Traditionally, algorithms were, you could think about algorithms as cooking recipes. So this is me. I like Thai and Indian food, and I like to cook. But I really cannot do it. I don't know how to do it. So I'm launching a recipe on a BBC site, and I'm following it very carefully, very closely, so I really get to the end result, and hopefully my wife would like to eat it. And this is exactly what algorithms are doing. These are like recipes for things. The problem is that modern algorithms are a bit more sophisticated. They are more like cooking lessons rather than recipes. So this is my son. He's learning how to cook a bread, how to make a bread. So he knows that he needs to use flour because somebody told him, but he doesn't know which flour should he use. So basically he will be trying different kinds of flours. He knows that he needs to mix the flour with some fluid, but he doesn't know which fluid, so he will try to make a bread with Coke, maybe with beer, maybe with orange juice, maybe with water, maybe with milk, and he will be doing it many times and trying to feed me. And as long as Daddy dies, it means, something was wrong, that is, spending time in the toilet. But one day, one minute, he will find the right combination of this different stuff, and he will make a good bread. And then my son will learn how to make another bread like this. And this is how machine learning or artificial intelligence basically work. It makes a lot of tries, and then it learns what works, and then it repeats it. So it's just impossible to understand how exactly the algorithm that is learning works, because it learns. So we don't know, as humans, we don't have a way to look into the algorithm that learns something to understand how it works. Even Facebook doesn't know it, and they have scientists who try to study their own algorithm to understand what it knows. But what we can do, we can at least think about what designers wanted to teach the algorithm. And I found a way to do it. I started to look at Facebook patent applications. The problem was that Facebook doesn't have a lot of patent applications about their algorithms. They are not filed as Facebook, they are filed by individual engineers. So I needed to recreate the phone book of engineers working on newsfeed algorithms, and then try to find them one by one and analyze these different patent applications about how the algorithms were designed to work and what they were trying to learn. What we know, these algorithms basically need to make many editorial decisions. Whenever any of 2 billion users comes to Facebook, opens a page or opens an app, there is about 2,000 stories waiting for this person. So obviously nobody can read it all. Whenever you come to Facebook, 2,000 stories, posts by your friends, by your colleagues, by brands that you follow are waiting for you, on average. You cannot read it. So, basically there is a very important thing. They need to choose something. So the idea is that they choose like 200 stories that could be displayed in the news feed. And it's very important what would be number 1 story, number 2 story, number 3 story, because we know from some internal studies of Facebook that after the 10th story, nobody clicks. So people basically interact with the first 10 stories. 90% of people interact with the first 10 stories that they see when they get to Facebook. So how the Facebook is doing it? First, I learned from these patent applications that there is no way to look at the story and say whether this story will be popular or not, because Facebook is not doing any kind of evaluation of a story. There is no ranking of stories, of story types. It doesn't work like that. There will be a different decision about the order of different stories made for each user. And it will be made upon three basically criteria. The first criteria is the attributes of a user and a story. So if I'm interested in politics and the story is understood to be about politics because it's coming from a political newspaper, because the text analysis tells Facebook it is a story about politics, because it's tagged by a politician name and so on, it is a signal that it should be shown to me because I'm interested in politics, story in politics, okay. The second factor, the second thing that they are using is the story's performance. So how is this story being read and liked and shared by other people who have seen it? If the story gets a lot of attention from other people, there is a higher possibility that also you will be interested in it. So basically they look how the story takes off, how many people are using it, and then there is a higher probability they will show it to you. And then they look at the affinity between the user that is reading the story and the creator. So basically, are we friends? Am I following the page that is publishing the story? Am I friend with the person? Are we often tagged together on pictures? Are we talking with each other on Messenger? So how close are we, basically, is the question that Facebook's algorithm will be asking themselves. And then they will take these three things into consideration to show you the read. And the general priority is for personal stories. Personal content published by people, not by brands, not by pages, will be always better seen than any other content. I also found algorithms that are trying to analyze contents of posts to understand whether they are about personal events like childbirth, wedding, birthday. So they read text to analyze the text, whether it is about birthday. They look at pictures to analyze whether it can be about something like a childbirth, because there is a child and it's very young on the picture, to determine that this kind of stories should be prioritized. So the idea is to show you more personal stories from your friends, basically. That's the goal. And why is that? This is because the whole calculations are really leading to predicted reaction and engagement. Understood that the goal that the algorithm has is to keep you in Facebook and keep you reading it, watching it, and clicking on it. That's the goal. And you can understand it because basically, what is Facebook? Facebook is aggregating the attention of people, the time spent, and their interaction to sell ads. So it's completely, the way algorithm works depends on the business model. It just supports the business model. Whatever we can do to keep people longer within Facebook is really what the algorithm is doing. And there are no other considerations, whether you are better informed of it, whether you get, I don't know, information that you need to live, to be a better citizen. This is not really in consideration. None of the algorithms is trying to make this kind of an evaluation. The goal is to keep you within Facebook. It's interesting how they make these comparisons between people attributes and story attributes. They collect a lot of data about what people are doing on Facebook. It's obvious to you. Whatever you do on Facebook, Facebook is mining the information, what you clicked, to understand you better. But not so many people understand that also Facebook collects a lot of information about other websites that you visit. Whenever you visit a website that has a button like or button share embedded into the code, or a website that has so-called pixel to track your movement, basically Facebook also learns about your behavior. So Facebook knows if you are going to porn websites, or you are reading a lot about cars, or whatever you are doing on, because most of websites basically contain this kind of stuff, or they are members of Facebook advertising network, so they have pieces of code on their pages. Facebook collects all this information to understand better who you are and what you are doing. Facebook also buys data from external sources. It happens rarely in Europe, it happens all the time in the States, because in the States there is a different laws. Basically you can buy content from credit card companies, from companies that are selling stuff by post and so on. And you can combine all the data to understand better the user. What is the result? The result is that when you think about your profile on Facebook, there are things that you told Facebook. Like, for example, I told Facebook that I'm in a relationship and that I live in Oxford and that I have a son because I have a friend who is of my name and is a young person. Yeah. So these are the data that you told Facebook about yourself. But Facebook, by collecting the data about your friends, about sites that you visit, about data that they bought from somebody, they can infer attributes about yourself. And there's plenty of algorithms that do it very efficiently. And so, for example, let me give you some examples. So what is the probability of accuracy level for different attributes? So gender, 93%. So just by learning about your likes, we can predict your gender, your race, your religion, whether you are single or in a relationship, whether you are gay, lesbian, whether you smoke, whether you use drugs, whether you drink alcohol. All these kinds of information can be inferred just by looking at your likes. One of the studies by the Stanford University shows that basically you need 250 likes to be able to predict personality, like whether you are, I don't know, whether you are open or whether you are rather closed, whether you are rational or rather emotional, better than your spouse. 250 is enough to be more accurate than partners, life partners of people. And of course, with 100 likes, they are more accurate than a work colleague or a friend. Yeah? And so what's Facebook? Basically, for the sake of selling the ads, we build a huge Big Brother surveillance infrastructure. And this is what modern marketing really is about, to use this kind of data to infer a lot of information about a person and then provide the right message to the person. So the questions we are facing today is if it is really the world's top editor-in-chief, what responsibility should he bear? And should they be different than other editors-in-chiefs? Another question is, how much data about ourselves should we allow others to collect and use to manipulate our decisions? This is an example of the ad bought by Russian trolls during the American elections. And this ad was presented only to people who are religious and were considering voting for Clinton. Yeah? So by understanding people's political inclinations, understanding what is their belief system, they could create the ads that were touching the most intimate parts of people's psychology to influence their decision in election. But of course, you know, you do it to sell toothbrush as well. Yeah? So basically, it can be used for any purpose. The second thing is, the third thing is about the whole fake news controversy. Here you have two stories. Basically on the left there is the most engaging story on Facebook before the election published by the Washington Post. It was a truthful story. It was an analysis why Trump history of corruption is mind-boggling. So why is Clinton supposedly the corrupt one? On the right hand you have the most engaging fake news story saying that Pope supported Trump in the election. Basically, when you look at these stories, they obviously look the same. You know, that you cannot use, you know, there are no signals like a layout or whatever to tell you that one story is coming from a respected American newspaper and the other is coming from nobody knows where. So the question is whether we think about fake news as an abuse to the media system or whether it's just a feature, because this is the way the thing was built. The thing was built to make no difference between professional sources and amateur sources. The thing was built to focus on engagement. And if the fake story is more engaging to people and people like it more and share it more, it will basically perform better in the algorithms than other stories. There are plenty of studies whether social media influence the rise of polarization between people. There are studies that prove that there is such an effect. On the other hand, when we look at polarization across the world, we see there are countries where social media are very strong and there is no polarization in politics. So perhaps we still don't understand the phenomenon enough well to know whether there is a direct connection, an implication between social media and polarization. And in the end, you know, how do we make people know that such algorithms exist? Most of people who go to Facebook don't understand it. In the study, when people were shown the posts from their friends that were hidden by the algorithms, they were surprised because they thought that they are always seeing all the kind of posts from their friends, and they were not seeing. When they were not seeing a post from a particular friend, they tend to think that maybe the friend is not posting anything, or maybe nothing is happening in the friend's life, or maybe the friend no longer likes me. People are not really aware of the selective force of these algorithms, and perhaps we should make them aware. And in the end, more and more decisions will be automated also in news. I know publications which use different algorithms to automate and personalize emails, newsletters, home pages, recommendations for stories. The question is, how do we make these things better than Facebook? And this is a big question. Plenty of organizations are doing it. You know, in my case, in the case of my former publication, I think 3/4 of the homepage are already automated fully. The question is that, what I wanted to tell you is that it was the choice of designers at Facebook to focus on engagement. And we can make other choices. We can make a choice, for example, that, I don't know, whether you should know about something. That, for example, maybe you were at our site the last time a week ago and you missed an important information from Tuesday. So we should show it to you on Friday, despite there is many other current news, but because we care about what you know about the world, we believe that you should know it. So it's completely up to media to make better algorithms. Thank you very much.